Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Teach Them Diligently podcast. I am thrilled to have Sherri Seligson joining me again today. Sherri is a dear friend, but she's also an amazing lady. She is a marine biologist. She is a veteran homeschool mom. She has done so many cool things that you just won't even believe it as we're talking about it. So you want to get to know this lady. Sherri, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's so good to be here, Leslie. I'm so happy to be here to chat with you.
Well, I appreciate it. I do want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself because you have one of the most unique resumes with the things that God has allowed you to do. It's cool and it's exciting to hear how God uses what He puts in your hand in such a powerful way. And that's true for all of us. So I want you to tell what you had in your hand and how God has used it through the years.
Yeah, it's just so cool to see that because now that I'm on the other side of say homeschool mom in my resume, I can look back and see some how God what I thought was this convoluted,
Hmm.
sideways direction in my life to really it was God's plan A for my life. I worked as a marine biologist at Disney before I got married. Got married while I was there, and then we had our first child. And I wanted to be home, wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. They all thought I was nuts. I worked at Walt Disney World back in the day when it was so fun to work there and got to fish and dive and do all kinds of fun stuff. And I considered it a promotion to being a mom.
Hmm.
And then if we weren't weird enough for me doing that, then we really felt God was calling us to homeschool. And so we began homeschooling our children. Wonderful experience. I learned so much, right? We learned so much as homeschool
Oh,
parents.
yeah.
I had a terrible, terrible writing education when I was growing up. And God knew that I needed to learn my writing skills. And
Wow.
I did that with each of my children, teaching them and learning along with them for the next assignment he had for me, which was to write
Hmm.
curriculum. So I write with Apologia Educational Ministries. I film videos, instructional videos that accompany those. We go all over the world and get to film seeing science in action. And love writing curriculum and writing for seeing science and faith together. So that's been just kind of the theme that God has given me through apologetics of why we believe what we believe and seeing
Yeah.
God's fingerprints in creation. So very small nutshell but just seeing how God used all of those avenues to get me to where I am today, particularly in the homeschool community, having done this for many, many years. So I'm just super thrilled and grateful and humbled, and want to encourage those who are listening. God has a plan for you too. And you may not
Yeah.
see it. It might look like a plan C or a plan D, but it is his plan A for what he's doing.
Absolutely. And I love how you tied the fact that you learned so much writing with your kids and that's exactly what God wanted to use because I think all of us that have gotten to the end of our journey and are looking back, we can see those little marks where we learned so much along the way with our kids and that's exactly what God is using for this next assignment like you noted. So those day by day interactions, that stuff that seems so mundane in the moment, God has a big plan for even those things. And so because we serve an almighty, all powerful, all good God, he's going to use that.
That's right. That's right. Even just building our faith when we know we
Yep.
have no ability to teach this next algebra assignment. And God just moves us through that and builds us and me faith. And so it's just been a wonderful journey to see that. And I know he's got more, but super excited to see what he's done and where we are right now.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Well, you have also had some really cool opportunities to work with various movies through the years. You have been able to do activity guides and stuff like that, which we were talking about before. And you said some things about the movie industry and kind of friendly films that I really wanted you to talk about because I was fascinated. And I think that the families listening in will be excited to hear kind of what's brewing over, on the West Coast and in some of the areas there in Florida.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I just got contacted by a marketing firm years and years ago about a family friendly movie years ago. It's called Dolphin Tale, which you may have heard of. And there was a homeschooling student as a character in the movie, and they wanted to reach out to the homeschool community. And we created an activity guide to make an educational element. And then that every couple of years or so, there's some sort of family friendly movie that comes out that they're wanting to. Um, to do that with. But this particular moment in history, that West Coast is realizing that they've kind of dropped the ball, that there is a hole, a
Mm.
huge gaping hole, because there's nothing that is family friendly in reaching our young people. They
Yeah.
they they want they've seen the failure of so many um, things that they have put out, and they're realizing we want to reach this strong, large community of families with good stories, and good stories are out there. They want to tell the good stories now. And so that is something that we have the opportunity to basically vote with our dollar by attending things that are family friendly, that have value, that teach something that is positive, that we can use for
Mm.
our children. So they're speaking to the family right now. They're realizing the family units, we're out there and we're in large numbers, and they're aware of it, and they're realizing we're not going to stand for yucky stuff in the
Right.
movies anymore. We're just not going to go there. And so we don't want that for our kids, we don't want that for ourselves. And so
Exactly.
they're realizing that there's been a large population that they're not reaching, and they want to now see, do they really want to come and see these
Mm.
stories we want to tell. And so this new movie that's coming out, I'm just super thrilled about, because it does tick that box. It is something that families can get behind, and we can tell them that this is what we're looking for. This is what we want. Get rid of the yucky stuff. It's not
Yeah.
helpful. It's not something that we don't want. We don't want that stuff in our families.
Yeah, it's been really interesting for us this fall alone. There are several um, family friendly movies that are really targeting. They want homeschoolers to come out and support it. They want to see this core family market that has grown so much. They want to
So big.
see if they will actually um, turn out, if what they're doing is actually feeding the need and the desires of that group. And it's really exciting to see how many they're putting out now, um, because it kind of, you don't feel like you're listened to a lot. And in this case, I feel like, for whether it is because they're losing money or whatever, I don't know what the motive is, but they're seeing that they need to really tone down a lot of the stuff and focus films on uplifting good themes, character, morals, beautiful stories, and things that families and children together can enjoy, because that has become such a trend in, I think, in our nation at large, which is actually very hopeful.
That's right, because we make up the largest population, really. And
Oh
so
yeah.
that's what they're seeing, that there's this large population that is saying no to what they want to
Mm.
do. And so they're like, okay, well, where are those stories? Stories are a great way to build community, to communicate, to talk with our kids. And so we want good stories. That's when we go to the classics. We see those classics, that they're classics because they're good, solid stories
Right.
that have that teach character, that have examples of situations that we can use to tell our children, see, remember when so and so did this. This is, I mean, it's a teaching moment. And so we
Mm.
really want good, solid stories. And what a fun way to do that, to enjoy the stories together with our kids for the first time. So again, I'm thrilled that they see this as an opportunity to
Yeah.
take a great story and make it in a way that is completely engaging, completely um, just positive and exciting for our kids and ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and enjoying movies like that together as a family actually builds a lot of memories together. It is, I know for our family, there are movie lines that are just part of the tapestry of our culture. It just kind of
Yes,
follows with us. And so when you're able to just let your hair down and enjoy a good story like that, it can really enrich your conversation just in the silly times or around the table or whatever. It comes up in so many times, and it's a throwback to earlier days and such a warm memory that I'm very grateful that there's more and more coming out for families to enjoy like that.
absolutely. Something that everyone can enjoy, not just, well, you take the little kids to that one and the big
Yeah.
kids won't go. This is something
Yeah.
everyone can enjoy, which then, like you said, it builds sibling memories, family memories, and that builds relationships. So it's all
Yeah.
about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to move on to the movie that you're working on now because I know that you are working on the Wild Robot movie. You have done an activity book for it, and I want to talk about that in a few minutes. But first, I have heard so much about this Wild Robot series. So many of the kids around me, it came along after my kids were little younger, but so many of the kids around me in our church and that work for our team members love these books. They're so excited about the movie. So, can you tell us, for those that may not be familiar, just a little bit about the story so that we kind of know where this whole thing is going before we start talking about all the other elements?
Yeah, absolutely. So it centers around the main character, which is a robot, and it's a female robot named Roz, and so she is designed to be a helper to people. And so this is set in the future when we've got helper robots around us,
Hmm.
and she finds herself shipwrecked on an island that has no people. So she's wanting to help people. There's no people around her, and her programming is designed for this futuristic city life, and she doesn't realize that she's in the wild. She's looking for someone to help. So she starts looking
Hmm.
around and looking for someone who has a task, and all she finds are animals. So instead of just shutting down, she listens to them, she learns from them, she studies them, she tries to connect and communicate with them, and then she builds relationships with some of the animals. And then accidentally, through a series of events, becomes a parent of an orphan gosling who imprints
Oh,
on her. And so it sees her as its mother. And so now she's got this little gosling that she's got to raise. And so we go on this journey with her as she learns how to parent, how to be a friend. There's some comical situations. There's some just some really fun, engaging things that she's doing, trying to teach this little goose how to swim and how to feed and how to fly. And then she helps to actually work to unite the animals when they face challenges. There's just so many great storylines in this
hmm.
main line of Roz kind of developing and going beyond what she was initially programmed to do. She's now doing even more, and that above and beyond, and going more above expectations is such a great common theme throughout the story.
Wow. So we were talking earlier about compelling stories, about
Yes.
how, just you're able to just kind of get in and just really, really relate to and love the story. What makes The Wild Robot such a compelling story, do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, if you watch the trailer, you're going to see it. It's beautiful. It is so
Yeah,
beautiful. It's
that
very
is.
painterly and engaging. The music is stunning. But more
Mm,
importantly, it hits major topics that are compelling: kindness in adversity, resilience, family relationships, and parenting.
mm.
I mean, through a robot and animals, they're doing this, which is really great. Emotional navigation of loss and how there's challenges in the world, how we can use our unique gifts to soar above and beyond expectations, perseverance. There's so
Wow.
many great storylines, and what I love, another thing I love, is they're telling this without having to resort to, I don't know, potty humor or
Yeah,
goofiness. It's engaging. They're not having to tell a sub story to keep parents interested. The story itself keeps parents interested, which is why it's for all ages. Kids will love
that's
it. Parents
amazing.
will love it. And when you have a story that's a good story, it's going to be interesting to all ages. And so that's what I love. And as an educator, as a homeschool mom, we know it's important to have and helpful to have tangible examples of
Mm,
stories, like you were saying, when we watch movies together, we quote movies together, when we're discussing all of these subjects with our kids about when so and so was resilient or had to experience loss or something. So again, it's a great solid story, and again, refreshing to see a big Hollywood studio like Universal and DreamWorks create a film that clean, and that's something that the whole family can enjoy together.
yeah, and the fact that they were able to slam that many amazing concepts into a storyline is incredible. So
Yes.
I get asked a lot, and I'm sure you do too, about discipleship conversations, about, intentional conversations. And it sounds to me like this movie actually will be a great launching point for a lot of those. Can you give us some examples of how, just really practically, how can parents take some of the themes in the Wild Robot and really capitalize on it in, those car conversations or the conversations around the table, those moment by moment times that they're spending with their children?
Yeah, I mean, we want that opportunity to take those stories and learn about life, how God has
Mm.
made us, how God uses us each unique for His own purposes. And so, when life gets hard, when something is not going the way we want it to, there's a perfect example. There are lots of times when life doesn't go the way we expect or want to, but then we can see how we can use the skills, the abilities we've been given to overcome those things. Life is hard. They're very relatable storylines in The Wild
Mm.
Robot. Again, to deal with challenges, friendship, how people are different from each other. Each person is uniquely made, and so when we have a friend, that friend is not going to be exactly like us. So learning how to navigate relationships and friendships, those issues. I'm trying not to give away too much of the story, but people who might be hard to work with, or we each have very unique gifts, God-given gifts
Mm.
that benefit those around us. And so working together as the body of Christ, it doesn't get into the spiritual, but we can take that theme, that
Oh, yeah.
idea, and definitely go into that. We can observe the characters and how they exhibit a hard work ethic because they're working for a top common goal. And so when our kids are struggling, they just don't want to do that math again. I don't know why I keep bringing up math.
Math
That
always
was
gets a
yeah.
bad rap
That's what
every
it is.
time.
I love math, but yeah, there's that struggle to learn. And so we talk about a hard work ethic and the benefit of doing something when you don't see the immediate result. And lots of other character traits. As a homeschool parent, we always talk about academics as being a very good thing, but honestly, we know this, I know this, character is so much more. That if
Yeah.
we focus on teaching character to our kids as the prime thing, then any academic can be learned on their own. If we teach them that hard work ethic, we teach them resiliency, perseverance, those character traits then will help them to get what they need when they need it
Yeah.
as adults. So these are the themes that we're seeing in the story. And so when you can say, look how this one worked so hard despite all these odds against this little critter, and how they work together. This one was a grumpy one, but they realized this was more important to overcome our differences because we have this common goal. So many situations that we can use as examples when we
Mm.
want to talk to our kids, when those situations happen in our real life. And we're modeling, we're teaching biblical character, we're talking about it as we go about the day as homeschoolers. And so this is a great story we can pull from that. It takes the visual, the auditory, all the things, and they're going to learn so much about it. It'll stick in their brains more. And so
Yeah.
again, that's why I think it's always great to take stories like that and do activities, do crafts, do
Mm.
things that help them to learn more, because that builds those mental memory paths that they'll remember better. They've got that visual image, that hands-on image, and so then we can take those and have those conversations when hard work comes up, perseverance comes up, working together, getting along with others comes up. So
Yeah.
just lots of opportunities.
Yeah, so good. We talk a lot at Teach Them Diligently about what we call the homeschool subjects, which are exactly what you were talking about. They're not necessarily the reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are, the academics, but the homeschool subjects is character
Yes.
and, resiliency and all of these things that you just mentioned. And those are the things that actually feed into academic excellence and everything else. Because if you don't have faith and you don't have the character to do hard things, you're going to get to a point where the academics are going to break down because
Yes,
nobody likes to do everything. You
that's right.
you and it could be writing. Let's not give math a bad idea. Maybe it's
That's
just writing for some
right.
kids, but there, if you don't teach the resiliency and the character to do the hard things, if you're not taking, that's why we talk so much about detours. If you go for the heart of what's holding them back from not doing whatever is hard so that you can teach that character, you can give them that life lesson that
Yes,
will then equip them to dive into the academics so much more effectively. And
absolutely.
so that's why I love, even as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that Jesus taught in parables, and it's these pictures, these stories that we're able to use to teach our children is very similar to that. And so when we're able to sit and enjoy a film that teaches so many of these things at once, it gives great jumping off conversation starters, great pictures that you can refer back to in those tough moments. And so a film like this can be a great a great source of content for those conversations in the days to
Absolutely.
come.
Absolutely. And it's so fun. It's just fun.
Yeah. And it's just, yeah, exactly. It's just a beautiful, enjoyable film. So you're
That's right.
making great
That's right.
memories. And I'm sure there are so many lines that you'll remember and little fun things that you'll pick up on. And, just like she said, just watching the trailer, it is beautiful. You
Beautiful.
want to dive into this world and get to know all of these characters and see how it looks like there's a moment of conflict and you want to see how that actually works itself out and is resolved. And so the trailer itself. I'm going to put the trailer in the podcast in the show notes because I want you to make sure you see it, because the trailer itself will make you understand that this is a movie you want to go see. um, well, I want you to talk a little bit. You have done an activity book, and before we go into that, I want to say I have learned so much from you through the years of just taking water and giving me spiritual lessons from it, a leaf and giving me spiritual lessons from it. I think God has gifted you so incredibly well with taking simple little things and teaching very deep, beautiful concepts from it. And so
Thank
that
you.
is something I've always appreciated from you. And you have blessed my heart so much through the years with the way that you teach. But tell us kind of how you've been able to weave out an activity booklet for kids, and how, if you were the homeschool mom at home, how would you use the activity booklet in relation to the movie? So, like, what order would you do it? How would you work it all out? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so totally open and go. There's not like a parent guide, and I mean we're talking
Cool.
just fun here. But we
I
do want
like those.
academics. I know, right? It's just a fun. It's designed to be a unit study, and it has activities for all ages. So there's an activity for 4 days of activities, which
Hmm.
means it's the 4 days leading up to the premiere of the movie. The idea is you do all these activities each day: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday is the fun field trip where you go and watch the movie on the matinee on Friday when it's just homeschoolers because everybody else is in school. And
Ha
so
ha
it's kind of like
ha.
the fun field trip. But I included activities for all ages, including the academics. And so
Hmm.
each day is kind of a theme of one of the academic topics. Lots of hands-on, food and fun. So day one is STEM. So we do food crafts and games and thinking skills, how animals are designed for the environment in which they live. We
Hmm.
talk about robotics because we've got the natural world and we got robotics. We got a lot of sciencey stuff in
Cool.
there. Animal migration is another one. We got geography on day two. That
Hmm.
talk about landforms and mapping. Lots of fun. There's no, again, the answer key in the back, so you don't have to know anything. It's all there. You just open it and go, and you can decide what you want to do. Day three is social studies and history. There's a timeline of the history of robots where you learn all about the history of robots and what those
Cool.
were. Discussion about overcoming obstacles and people who have done that in history, doing
Hmm.
more than what was expected of them, such as Helen Keller and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Nick Vujicic. Um, so
Hmm.
we want to have that social studies element and how we can all see people in history who've done that. And then day four is language arts and telling stories with animation, vocabulary, reading, communicating with facial and body clues. There's a fun creative writing project for them. And again, it's a free book, has all the answer keys, the sources from everything. So you can do it just fun and just pick some of the fun crafts. You can have the older kids do stuff with the younger kids. No special materials. It's just literally open to go. And it is also beautifully designed and laid out using that same gorgeous art from the
Wow.
movie itself. So super simple. And again, day five would be the field trip where you get to go
Yay.
to see the movie with other homeschooling families. So there's some great, again, when you've got all the hands on and that builds up the excitement, and then you see the movie, it is a memorable moment in time that then you can
Hmm.
pull back to talk to your kids about. And academically, they're going to remember a lot of what they're learning too. Because again, whenever
Yes.
you're doing stuff with hands-on or food or anything like that, there's multiple memory pathways in your brain that will help them remember longer. So that was my hope with the academics.
Hmm.
But again, incorporated throughout, there's also a lot of character and discussion about those bigger themes that we talked about that we can continue to revisit with our kids as we go through our weeks.
That's awesome. And the kids will be much more inclined to pick up on the things. So if they've learned something and they see it, I mean my experience would have been my kids looking down at me like, did you see that? Did you see that? Because that like always if we talked about something before and they would see it in a film or hear it in a story or whatever it was, they were quick to point that out, which is another really cool thing about homeschooling as you're learning and growing together. So I
Yes.
love the fact that this is designed to do before you go see the movie. And then you gave me, before we started, a little bit of insight about this Friday matinee, what the vision is for it from kind of the movie, the studio side. And so I would love for you to give that insider information to our audience as well, because I was
That's right.
fascinated by
Well, I'll tell you, homeschoolers, they know we're here and
it.
they want to reach us. They want to know what we want and they want to reach
Mm,
us. So they specifically are creating this curriculum for homeschoolers. They're taking the time, the energy, the funds to do this. They want to see if homeschoolers are actually going to come see this movie. And one of the numbers that they're going to look at are those Friday matinee numbers, because public and private school kids are in school on that Friday. And so when they see those numbers higher than normal, then they know homeschoolers are coming. Their hope is, again, to reach us, and we can vote with our dollars that way.
yep.
If we go there, and again, I never want to put my name on something that I don't wholeheartedly believe is great. I believe it's a great
Right.
opportunity. It's fun, but we want to tell them, yes, we want good quality stuff. Yes, we want good stories, but we don't want the junky stuff. But we will come and see these experiences that you provide for us if they're good, and we're
Yeah.
here. I mean, homeschooling is growing, and you guys are such a wonderful cornerstone in the homeschool community, Leslie, of just supporting, encouraging homeschoolers in throughout the year, not just at a conference. Your conferences are amazing, but throughout the year, you're there for them. And so I just feel like this is where our numbers are growing. We're becoming such a viable, I mean, it's been again and again shown how homeschooling is a viable education. We look at what our adult kids are doing now who've been
Hmm.
homeschooled. It is something that we want to send a message to them, and we want them to see, hey, we're here, and
Yep.
we matter, and we've got a desire for good solid materials, because we love our kids and we love our families, and family is important. And so it's sending a message. It's really
Yeah.
sending a message to them when they see those numbers. That's the only way that they can know, is if we go on premiere
Exactly.
weekend. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I am going to link all of this stuff in the show notes, but I want you to tell us where people can go to find out more, where they can get their tickets. And kind of, you mentioned that if they download the activity book or where they download the activity book, there's also more information about discounts and stuff like that. So tell us all about that. And then I'll make sure that the show notes has very detailed links to make it super easy for everyone to get there.
Absolutely. And it's really, really simple. You're just going to go to thewildrobotresources.com, thewildrobotresources.com. And that's it. There's a space where you download the free curriculum. And then in the curriculum, there's also a special discount that you'll get off of your family's tickets to see the movie. So it's all there for you. It's just one space, one place to go. Very simple. And it's all there for you. So super, super excited that they are doing this for us. Again, they realize we're here in numbers, and we matter, and of course we do. So we want to send that message to them too.
Well, that is awesome. Well, Sherri, thank you so much for joining me today. It has, as always, been just a great conversation. I learn a lot. I get excited about what we all get to do every time I talk to you.
Oh,
So I am very excited to go see this movie. I'm going to download the activity book. Lila's a senior, so it won't count for anything, but I think it'll be such a fun thing to walk through just in our cuddle time, just
yeah.
conversation. She and I are actually doing a Khan Academy course right now that's called Pixar in a Box, that's all
Oh,
about storyboarding and what the animators think. It's the most fascinating thing. And we're just sitting walking through, and she's designing her own story as we're going. It's a great writing class. Just free plug there. It's
Yeah.
so cool. But I think that this will actually lean into that as she'll have a different way to look at the story arc and all of these technical things because she's older. So I'm excited to do this as kind of a supplement to what I'm doing with her with that other class. So thank you for making this available.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm super happy, and I hope that everybody enjoys it. Thank you for having me here to be able to tell everybody about it too.
Well, you are welcome. To everyone listening in, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I know this has been an encouragement and a blessing to you. I hope that you are starting to see all of the many tools that are at our disposal that actually give us great conversation starters, great, really content for those in between moment times that we're taking advantage of as discipleship focused parents. They're all around us, and I think this movie will provide a whole lot of great conversation, a week's worth of great school time that's like a detour from the norm, which I have always loved. I love unit studies for that reason, because I personally would get bored with the normal, and I assume my kids did too. So this gives a nice little interval where you're doing something different. Check the show notes. Make sure that you download the activity book. Get your, especially Friday matinee tickets. If you're able to go, then let's show up in droves to support this film opening weekend for on that Friday matinee. Again, all of those links are going to be in the show notes, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.